All right, this is part 2 of drawing a microwave cabinet parts in Aspire or VCarvePro, and we are going to now, once the parts have drawn, we're going to now export each part out separately that could then be imported into an existing nest of PartNester to be able to include the custom parts that we designed in VCarvePro or Aspire, and this is going to show how we could bring those parts in and include those in the nesting of PartNester. So the first thing that we want to understand is our cutting features that we have here in PartNester. Currently, we have a cut layer, which is cut 0_75. We have a dado layer or feature and also some holes. So our microwave cabinet is only doing perimeter cuts, and we want to have those included on this same 3/4 inch plywood. So the naming of our DXF layers is critical here to be able to have everything combined together. So we've already set that up to be cut 0_75 in creating our parts, as we could see on our layers tab. Within Aspire or VCarvePro, we have the same layer name and all these parts put on those layers. So now we just need to save out each part separately as its own DXF, and I'm also going to move each part down into a 0, 0 location. So this was the bottom. I'm going to use the move selected vectors, set it to an absolute position of the lower left of that part, setting the X and Y to be at 0, 0. We'll apply. That part is now located at 0, 0. Selecting the other remaining parts, I'm just going to go ahead and do a Control X to exclude those from this save. That is just cut those and put those on the clipboard. Now going into File, selecting the part, going into File, Export DXF. I'm going to put those on my desktop inside of a layer named Cabinet Parts, and I am going to call that Micro Bottom, and save. That part is now done and saved. I'm going to delete that and then do a Control V, which is going to paste in those other parts. Again, selecting the two sides and doing a Control X to cut, moving that part to 0, 0. Apply. This is the back, so I will go File, Export DXF, and then do a Control V to paste that back in. And again, moving this down to 0, 0. With that selected, File, Export DXF. Call that micro right side. And the left side in this case is exactly the same thing, but I do want to have two parts that we're able to bring in, so I'm going to just do an export of that same part again. We now have 4 parts saved out as a DXF separately. We'll now come over into PartNester, and we will select to go open. Going to the desktop, there is the cabinet parts folder, going to use the drop down here to select DXF. Holding the control down, I'm going to select all of the files or all the DXF files that I want to have or be included within this job. Once they are selected, I'm going to go ahead and select Open. We are now presented with, it needs to know what is the perimeter layer, what is the cutout layer. So I'm going to use this drop down box, and there is the cut 1. I'm going to set that, and we can see that the layer name is here, and it now needs to know how deep do we want to have this cut. So I'm going to enter in 0.75, select OK. That number is now going to be saved and remembered for the next time we want to use it. The parts themselves have not yet been included in the nest, but once we go to Tools, Nest, those parts are now incorporated within the job of PartNester and will be toolpathed along with all of the other parts. And notice that there are the sides. Selecting the cut layer, they become selected just as all the other perimeters do. We could then just either calculate or save out the toolpaths for cutting. So if we go ahead and calculate, we will see that they are now included and will be calculated into the job as if it was any other part.